Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. I hope you're all doing really well this Tuesday on the 5th of August. Yeah, I'm back with you guys after having yesterday off. Still not fully recovered just yet, but I'm much better now considering where I was yesterday, just absolutely out of it. So apologies for not streaming yesterday and not being around. So I hope we're all doing really well. Should be a little bit with it more today, but my brain is still a little bit all over the shop. So fingers crossed. Let's see how this show goes. So much missed yesterday. In some respects, much missed yesterday, but in the grand scheme of things, really not much. One thing I will say is try and get into the chat. We'll have the most amazing chat on here. Proper legends of the chat. They are absolutely fantastic in here. The only thing I will say is you can say what you like. I am not a dictator. I don't mind flicking around, talking about things, but as long as it's to do with the subject matter that we're talking about, then we might as well get onto it. So, show today. So, Sesko decides, and is the Watkins deal back on? So, where are we? Danny B's in the chat. Good morning, my good friend. Legend of the chat, as always. Just leaving for work, 6:30 here. I hope you're doing really well. Toxic's in the chat as well, another legend. Hey mate, hope you're doing really well today. Sorry guys, not being my normal self. It does take a lot for me not to do stuff. I've just completely wiped out. I did debate on. I did see the Newcastle bid, as we did talk about it on here as well, because we are ahead of the game. We did speak about what would happen if Newcastle made an absolute, a bigger bid, and we can talk about the big bid as well. Never wanted Šeško, to be fair. So Danny B, hopefully you can be around for this. But so where are we? I guess is the first thing to say. So where are we? We're at where we were. So Newcastle put in a bid of euros of 80 million plus 10. Now that does sound like a lot. That does sound like a huge amount of money, but that is roughly about 69 million pounds. Plus another 7. So 69 million pounds. At that price, United won't be out at that price. Now you're going to call me mad, but at that price, I still think that it's still value for money. Now I'm not talking about whether he's expensive. I'm basically talking about the age and the price. Now at that age and price, United will do that deal. I think we are where we are on this one. So United, Newcastle are nuts. And that's good. And I will come on to that as well, because I think that's a good point. So where we are right now is that Newcastle are going full ball. They are going out and they're trying to do everything they can to get this player. Now, all the noise and the bidding and whatever else is them trying to get this deal done. 90 million for a guy who has scored 13 Bundesliga score, I would walk off and sign a midfielder. So I do think we need to be careful around the price. So 90 million euros, the price as it currently stands is 69 million pounds. So let's just put what 90 million euros is in 90 million euros in pounds. So that's 78 million pounds. So obviously depending on where you are in the world. So that's 78 million pounds. Now Ekitike went for 74, but as it stands, the offer is 69 million. That is sort of where we're at. As I think we've spoken about this and we've alluded to it, and in the chat, I completely understand this, where you basically fall on this price. So 89 million euros. Sorry, 80 million euros or 69 million pounds. Now, to be this has currently not been accepted. looking at it as we badly need a midfielder, and I don't disagree with that. I think we need a striker as well. I think we need all positions. So the Newcastle bid, 80 plus 10, has not been accepted, and that is so. Newcastle fans, we have had some of those in here. It's not been accepted. So, and this is from Fabrizio. Where we are right now is Šeško will decide, and as I've always maintained, as I've always said, and we have spoken about on here, is that Šeško, I believe that we've already been in talks with him. My stance on this hasn't changed, and his preference is he wants to come to us, and we have been negotiating behind the scenes, and as it stands, we will match. So the price is, I have to relay the price, but I think the price is inconsequential to the deal. So I don't think it's going to be 80 million. I think that will maybe come down slightly. But when we are talking about money, we are talking about pounds. We are talking about 69 million pounds. That is where we are. It's not 80 million pounds. It's 69. So as we come back to the chat, so what we got, Newcastle and nuts they're looking at us. Madness for somebody who can't score goals more than Timo Werner. Remember, Nkuku, that's true. It won't be accepted. We'll get Šeško anyways, but I'm not happy. Invest the 75, 80 million for Šeško in. But to be clear though, right now it's not 75 to 80 million pounds. It is 69 mil. But I do think you're right. I do think it goes up to 75 to 80 million. So it really does depend on what you think is right here. So I don't disagree with the chat, and as we so Temishkin, legend of the chat, is in here. I want Šeško, please. Ineos, make plan for Amrin. Absolute. Hey, Joe Bellingham. You did make me laugh. So Tulip Play is in the chat. Legend of the chat as well. Absolutely convinced we'll get Šeško. The Newcastle business look like noise. Exactly that. But I think this is where we are with it. Is that we want Šeško to commit to us, and the thing about that is that once he does, there is no bidding war, and I think you're absolutely right. So Newcastle are basically just trying to get this deal done, and this is what Newcastle fans need to get, and I don't blame them really. Is that they are trying to do everything they can to get this deal done. Believe is too expensive, and other midfield options aren't better really. I would go get Højlund, Hackney, Lemens instead of yeah. And sadly, the club doesn't think like that. Now, what's that thing I wanted to talk about? So, I don't disagree with I don't want him, but we will get him. And that's the thing, isn't it? Is that we're now in this position whereby we are sat there and it looks like the bid is going up and up and up and up and up. Højlund is a sloth. He can't dribble, doesn't pass forward. 70 million is too much of. And this is where we are now as well. We're in the last knock-ins of the window. The window now is we've got a little while to the window ends, but we are now coming to this end of the window. So if we're looking at Højlund and these sort of like other players, then they are going to be very, very expensive. But and obviously until this Šeško thing is sorted out, I think we can all take Casemiro's speed and you guys pass it and you have Højlund. It's 50 million tulip and go look at his progressive numbers and stats. You are mistaken. Again, this is what we like in the chat. A debate on these players, a debate on where we should go. Now, there is a frustration again. There is a frustration here. Now, United obviously do not want to bid for Šeško unless they know they can get this Šeško deal done, because they don't want to enter into a bidding war. But at the moment, they are being, I don't know, and I can ask the chat on this one. Is it smart from their perspective? Is it stupid? Will the price increase now, because obviously we're not prepared to show our hand just yet? Is £69 million, is that too much? Now, I watched Ekitike a little bit yesterday playing, and obviously he's from the Bundesliga as well, and he's quite a tall he's quite tall, he's quite quick, like a different player to Šeško, but he looks alright. But so are we in a position right now to turn away from Šeško? Now, if we did turn away from Šeško, which is the other part of this now, is the Watkins deal back on? So the rumblings that are now coming out is that Aston Villa, obviously we get into the end of the window, and as we predicted on here, is that now will Aston Villa now lower their price on that? So would you now pivot away from Šeško at that price on a hypothetical situation, which I don't think that we will do, but would you pivot to Watkins for 50 million? Because that's how much I think that we'd have to pivot there. Let's have a look at the chat. I think Agum might be the best cheap believer on the market right now. TK cannot finish his dinner. He shoots like a 10-year-old. Very skilled though, but missing the main thing. Yeah, and Hackney is a very good point, because we do need to talk about this. We do need to talk about centre midfielders, because we are going to go for a centre midfielder as well. Now, Hackney, obviously, as it's been said in this chat, is that he was going to go to Ipswich, but that deal was scuppered at the last, and now that is definitely not going to happen. 70 million for Šeško is better value than Watkins for over 50 plus. Exactly, and that's what we have, and that's one of the things that I believe that as well. So I'll tell you where I am on that again, and obviously if you've never been here before, feel free to get into the chat. The chat today is actually, as it always is fantastic. We all debate it out, and we all talk about where we are with it. You've almost got the same player names, but we all can debate, and we all put in there what we think is right and or wrong. Get Vlahovic more cheaper. So this is where I am on Šeško, and obviously feel free to let me know. So where I am on it is, I don't really have a problem with 69 million now. And the basis is from a purely financial view. Now, I'll be hypocrite if I don't talk about the football side of it as well, because I can't just say, oh, the financial side of it. But when you are looking, previously we have bought players financially, and they have crippled us, and they've been awful. Now, this will come to a point with Šeško where financially it becomes not a viable deal, in my opinion. If Šeško wants 300k a week, 250k a week, I think at that point I personally am out, because that's a lot of money. And that's going to be at least on a 5+6 deal. So he's going to be getting paid 250,000 for 6 years. And as the chat correctly says, he's not done it in the Premier League, the Bundesliga. There is a massive risk. In terms of the price and the player, you could easily argue, and I'm not going to disagree with you, that that's a lot of money for potential. That's a lot of money to lay out for a player who is not proven, and we need results really, really quickly. Financially, however, I'm happy with this deal financially, on the basis that you look at him, he's 22 years old. He could be here for 10 years. He could be here for 4 years, and even if he doesn't have the best 2 years, look at Højlund, he's still going to be worth in and around that. So when you look at the length of the deal for the price and the age of the player as well, I'm absolutely comfortable with that. I don't think it's a waste of money in terms of the financials. I think we will make that back, and I'm absolutely okay with that. But the risk here is we need to go up the league quickly. We need a striker. Højlund, as it's proven already, he for the last 2 years hasn't exactly been the best, and we need results now. So we are taking a gamble. We really are taking a gamble. So, and I completely get the reticence towards him because ultimately we need a striker. Now, Watkins, in my opinion, if you pivot to him, say pivot to him and he's 50 million, you are taking that money and you are literally lighting it on fire and putting it in the bin because you're not getting that back. Okay, that's gone. But then what you are going to get with him is the guaranteed goals and assists. Now, with him, for me, to get him and to make that work, is that what you're saying is he's going to get us the goals and we're going to be aiming for 4th, 5th, because we should get the goals. But if you don't have the team behind him to support that, he may be scoring the goals, but we will be conceding the goals as well. So if you don't fix the goalkeeper, that midfield needs fixing. So you only really get him if the rest of your team you're comfortable and it's good, and you're missing that last piece. Hence why Arsenal tried to sign him as well. And we're not that team. So. And additionally as well, he's 29 years old, 30 at Christmas. Doesn't mean to say that that's a thing. Strikers these days are in their prime until they're in well into their 30s. But we are talking, there is a risk that does he now start to go on the decline? Maybe if we do a 5-year deal, that takes him to his 35, 36, he's going to be expensive as well. But you are going to guarantee that goals as well. So I think there's a pluses and a minus for both deals, but I do think right now we're all in for Šeško. And my opinion is that financially I'm comfortable with this deal. It's not me that has to spend the money, but 69 mil to 72 mil is pretty much where I've been thereabouts, and I'm comfortable with that price. But if you're looking at spending that money and having a player hitting the ground straight away, we might not have that. And then what happens is in this fan base gets frustrated and they put their frustrations onto the player, and then the player's head drops. So are we setting ourselves up again for another Højlund? Will Højlund stay? Will Højlund go? And that's sort of, I think, where we are with this one. Let's have a little look, see what the chat is saying. Vlahovic is cheaper. Just looked at those stats. Underrated. Toxic. Have you seen his wages? Tinsu, hello sir, how are you? Benjamin Šeško is a tragedy film this year. Why don't Man United offer number 6, number 8 this year? Ugarte was weak this time. Last time the weakness it is. We need a midfielder. I will come back to that. Tuxer says the delay in Benjamin Sesko is because RB Leipzig doesn't want him to pick just one team. They're going to start building more. So to Jana and Fjordtoft, I mean, you can believe that. I mean, I'm of the opinion that Ross Harwood is correct. Fabrizio and Ornstein do sort of back him up a little bit in the things that he's saying. Obviously, whatever sources you believe are right. I what he's saying there has been said already, and I think is quite obvious in the terms of Leipzig do want a bidding war of such, but it's down to the player. And Romano, this has come out from him. He's basically said that that Newcastle's bid hasn't been accepted because ultimately they'll accept the bid when Šeško decides. So when Šeško picks his own bid or who he wants to go to, then that is when they'll accept the bid. So for example, Newcastle have offered 80 plus 10. So if Šeško says no, I don't want to go, but then United come in and say 75 plus 8, then Leipzig almost have that sort of bid and could go, well, actually no, we sort of have this bid already. So I'm on K. Hi, bro. I hope you're doing really, really well. So this is a bit of a funny one. as I've always maintained and as I've always said and believed, this is my opinion, is that Newcastle 2 weeks ago could have got this deal done. If Šeško was going to go to Newcastle, he would have gone already. They have been working on this for 2 weeks. They're basically stealing, just to try to get this player. But he doesn't want to go there, and that is basically it. You know, Newcastle fans, I do feel sorry for them in some respects because you know they are trying to do everything they can to replace one of their best players. But if Newcastle, if he wanted to go there, he basically would have gone. He would have gone already. Tenchu says United working hard on midfielders, goalkeeper. Chilip, let's have a little look. Toxic. Yeah, I think we are. Everybody's going to regurgitate the same thing in some respects, including me. But what I have maintained, and I will maintain this, is that for those of you who want Šeško, and I think we do need to make a deal. Watkins was my preferred choice, but as we said in the chat here, we need a midfielder. We need a midfield. We need a goalkeeper. And without those, Watkins for me is weak foot. I've not forgotten on that one. Hey, congratulations on 6K. Thank you, buddy. Weak foot. I haven't forgotten about the message. I've just not been around, mate. I've just been so unwell that I've not even replied to anything at all. So I've not forgotten, buddy. Eventually, I'm going to run out of JP. No, I don't think you will. That's what. Nah. I don't think you ever will. So I think that is basically where we are. I think we are waiting for, as soon as United make a. Thank you, Tulip Plays. I think we are waiting basically on. You know, I am just going to check whilst we're live because every single time I do something tends to break. Let's have a little look at what Ross Harwood is saying. What are we doing at the moment? He's basically saying the same thing. So I think to round up where we are is this, and I think it's pretty much the same. Everyone else is going to spin a yarn just to get some legs out of this. Is that Newcastle 2 weeks ago were looking at Šeško and they wanted him. So they tried to get in there, tried to make a quick deal and tried to get this done. What's the funniest JB I've called you so far? The Justin Bieber one was quite good. I thought that was really good. I need to write them all down, actually. There was one you called me the day before, yesterday. I can't remember now. But you've got some classics out. You've got some classics. The Justin Bieber one's funny. That cracks me up because it's so far away from that one. Cool. I will certainly check that out. Weak foot, definitely will, buddy. Man United shouldn't take a risk by spending more than £67 million. Yes, the Tensu. So this is where we are, and I'll give you an overview of the figures and all that kind of stuff as well. So Newcastle 2 weeks ago put in a bid, trying to get this deal done early. Now United have been talking to him. They really have been for the last 2-3 weeks as well. Haven't put in a bid, but Premier League 200. I have heard Šeško deal is a swap deal with Rasmus if it happened. Premier League 200. Have heard. Again, my friend. That's nothing new. I think, in my opinion, and you may have your opinion. I don't necessarily think that is not reliant on that. Leipzig he would be their dream replacement for him, but Rasmus does not want to go, and trying to get him to go, I think, is going to be difficult. But I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree that he could be part of the deal. Maybe this is why it's taken so long, because Rasmus doesn't want to go. But we can come to that as well. So if Newcastle were going to get a Šeško deal done, it was going to be done. Now, we've been talking to Šeško for a very, very, very long time. Now, obviously, we then internally, and this has all been confirmed by Fabrizio and Ornstein, and we were making a decision as to Watkins or Šeško. So we've gone all in on Šeško as it stands. There was a conversation indoors where some preferred Šeško, some preferred the Watkins deal. So we've now gone all in for Watkins. So Newcastle have obviously made their bids and their official bids, and nothing is being accepted by the club. Now, where we are at is that Šeško wants United to make a bid. United are not going to make a bid until Šeško declares that he wants to come to United, because of what happened with the Arsenal deal. So Arsenal, he was their number one target, but they used him in a deal with Gyökeres, and where he's at now, he wants a commitment from a club to say, look, we really want you. And there's a special club as well. So I believe special clubs are us, Real Madrid, clubs like that. So there's a special price. So we've been talking to him. I believe that we've spoken to him. We've agreed deals. We've got a structure roughly in place. But what we are waiting for, we're being stubborn ourselves, is waiting for him to say, look, we want you to come to us. And he's saying, well, I want you to make a bid. And we're saying, well, no, we want you to say it's us, because they don't want to get into a bidding war. And part of the reason is it because potentially we could lose? Leipzig won a bidding war. Šeško wants to feed that because he doesn't want to do anything bad on them. Leipzig, there's reports out there saying that Leipzig will want a sell-on clause as well. Now, for me, £70 million is more than enough money. I wouldn't want that clause in there. You know, they're asking for more money. United would have to do the work, would have to make him a better player, and for him to want some more money, I think that is a crazy thing to put in there. So we are trying to work through the structure. Newcastle have offered 80 million plus 10, which works out about, in terms of pounds, about 69 mil pounds up front, and then another 7 or 8. The bid hasn't been accepted, and where we are ultimately is where Šeško wants to go. Šeško is going to decide where he wants to go. Newcastle doing everything that they possibly can to get this deal done, and they are throwing money, cash, and that's the only way. The only way he is going to go to Newcastle is if United drop out of this race, in terms of it becomes so financially difficult to do. Like Šeško wants 300k a week, and Newcastle offer 80 million pounds. I mean, at that point, I'm out. So as it stands, and people will then spin it to say that we've been snubbed, etc. But that is not the case. Šeško, as it stands, wants to come into this club. He's chosen this club. He wants to come here. He wants a commitment from us, and we're only going to get a commitment when we get a commitment from him. So this is where the stalemate is. Now, this could go on for a couple of more days, but this needs to get done, and I do believe that this will get done quicker. Now, there are different reports starting to come in that Aston Villa obviously now know that Watkins is not part of their plans, so they need to do something around that. Now, Newcastle could go in for Watkins, could go in for Wissa as well, but Šeško is going to be the domino effect here. So once we all know what's going to happen with that, then that will then start moving Wissa on, Watkins on potentially. But as it stands now, and I've maintained this for the last week and a half, I believe Harwood, I believe some of the things that I believe, and I've always kind of maintained this, and we've been speaking on here, and you can go back and watch all the things that we've said on here for the last coming up for 2 weeks now, I remain calm, and that Šeško has chosen to come to us. And the only way we don't get this deal done is if Newcastle put in an absolute ridiculous bid, and I mean crazy money bid, not 69 million. I think we're talking 85 mil, and they offer Šeško like 400k a week. That's the only way that they get this deal done, is financially. It makes it so financially like that we can't do it, that he goes. But so as it stands, I think whether you want Šeško or not, I think Šeško is the deal that is going to get done. Now, I am okay with the Šeško deal at this price currently, purely because of the age. But it is a risk. It's a massive, massive risk, and we're going to take a gamble. Now, Højlund, as Premier League 200 has already said that, could there be a swap deal involved here, because Leipzig really like Højlund, and it's where we think we are with Højlund. I mean, I'm of the opinion that we need to keep Højlund because we need as many players as we can, but I'm of the opinion that Højlund's going to be the same Højlund. We've played 4 pre-season games, and Højlund has scored 1 goal. I think I said on Monday that he's not scored a goal yet, but you've played 4 pre-season games and he scored 1 goal. I mean, he played for the last 20 minutes in the last game, but Højlund, he's played okay. He's been okay. If you listen to some of the like the paper talk and some of the fans, don't get me wrong, he's had a good game, but ultimately he scored 1 goal. So those of you who like Højlund as well, we're in a position right now where I still demand striker, and we need to look kind of beyond this whole thing as well. Is that while we're all focused on Šeško, what else is happening behind the scenes? Because after that game, we certainly need a centre midfielder. We would 100% need a keeper. In fact, I'd argue that we probably need 2 centre midfielders, and this is where we are. So we really need to let's have a little look at the chat. Man United tend to nowadays, I don't care whether Šeško chooses or not. Going to see another option. Have a little look. I think Šeško makes drama now. Yeah, the Šeško drama is awful. Chief Irv, sorry, I ain't been here much. JB's. It's Chief Irv. I'm really, really sorry to hear that, my friend. That's awful. And I really, I don't, there are some things in life, and when you put it in that way, my friend, there are things in life that are more important than football, more important than Šeško. I'm really, really, I really hate to hear things like that, my friend. So hope that you're all okay. I hope your family's okay. So I really, really hope that. I'm really, really, really sorry to hear that, my friend. So hopefully that you're okay. That is, there's not much I can say. But I'm just really, really glad to have you here. Thankful that you're here, and hopefully we can maybe take off your mind on these things. But you're welcome here as always, my friend, and our thoughts are with you. Our thoughts are with you and your family, my friend. So hopefully, Chief Herb, let us just we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers, my friend. So that's awful. Premier League 200 says, one thing I don't understand is how can we still spend this much without selling? Exactly. Premier League 200, you make a good point. At the start of the season, we was all sell to buy. We didn't have the money to do it. Now, are we acting like a bigger club and saying basically, look, we're gonna sign players on the basis that we're gonna sell players. So big clubs will go, look, maybe we've got to sell to buy, but we're so confident in ourselves and our clubs to sell players that we can sell them, and then we'll worry about this at a later date. That is what big clubs do. And is that what we're trying to do here? Is we're saying, look, we don't really need to sell to buy, or is it a case of we know we're going to sell these players? So, and part of the strategy as well is that we don't sign players until we sell players, because we don't want two sets of wages on the books. Now, I get that in some respects, but big clubs just get players in and push players out. So I really don't know. I really don't know where this money is from. It's not obvious. I can't even give you an opinion on it unless we've got investment from somewhere. Well, obviously we can't just put cash into our books. So I don't know where that money's coming from unless we're just acting like a big club. Excuse me, and we are basically so confident that we can sell these players that we're spending the money before we've got the money. Hamishi Kahandi, and apologies if I've destroyed your name there. Welcome here, and Šeško and keeper. We need a goalkeeper. In fact, I think this chat, and I'm agreeing with this chat, that we need a midfielder. That is where I think I'm at. I guess moving on from Šeško, the way to go. I can see why Arsenal moved away from the deal. Yeah, Chief, I think you've summed it up there, my friend. I think you're right. I think that he's be such a difficult deal to do. So I think partly why it's a difficult deal to do. Excuse me, I'm sniffing away here. Chipley says, if we move away from Šeško, we'll end up with Nicholas Jackson. No, thank you. If Šeško wants us, then we'll get him for less than. Tulip, I agree with you. I agree. Jackson, they want 80 million for Jackson. No, thank you. Absolutely no, thank you. And I do think we will as well. So there is a Šeško wants us. Šeško wants us, and they're waiting for us to make a bid. So we need to get off our high horse, and we need to move this along quick. And I do think that we will. But I think it's in our interest slightly to hold this deal up, because I do think we like holding these deals up. So I think there is part of that there. But I 100% agree with you on that. That if we move away from Šeško, where do we go? This is what we need to be careful of now as a fan base, is that Šeško, whether we want him or not, it's a gamble. It is a gamble. But if we move away from Šeško now, it's going to take us another few weeks to get a striker. We're not in talks with anyone else. Then if we do, in terms of value and money, I think this is a good deal. In terms of the length of the contract, the age of the player, if we move away from this deal, anything else by comparison is going to be so much more expensive. And we need to get a midfielder. So I'd rather get in this player, not only on the basis that it's taken us 2-3 weeks now to get this deal done. Premier League is going to start in less than 2 weeks. We need to get a midfielder done. We need to get a goalkeeper done. Probably 2 midfielders as well. So now we've committed to this. We need to get this done. I don't think the price is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be expensive. But if it means that it saves us time, we'll get this player in, go and get a centre midfielder, a keeper. Our problem is time as well. So we'll get a player that potentially could be a star in the making. If we move away from him, Watkins, his star is shining brightly right now, but how long is that going to shine for? And he's still going to take us a couple of weeks to get this deal done if we move for him. But we're in this deal now. I think we can get it done within the next 2-3 days, and then we move on to the next. So in terms for time for the play, it's not like we're going to get a dud, fingers crossed, and we can still do these deals. So I think we really need to get this done, and I think we're all in. And I do think we'll get this deal done for between 60, 68 and 72. And I'm comfortable right now with that deal, because we just really need just to get this deal done. Hamishi says Manchester United new Sesko goalkeeper versus Arsenal. I would love Sesko to play against the Gunners. If Sesko wants us, then that'll be great. Not trying to act hard, but feel like we don't get this back and forth in Newcastle. Exactly. Isak's gonna head to Liverpool. My brain is still downloading. Yeah, Chief. I think that. Yeah. I don't know where. Haven't seen much on Isak actually. Right now the deal is stalled because obviously Newcastle don't know where they're at. Obviously looking through this and looking through some of the comments on X, there's a lot of reactionary stuff on the Sesko deal as well. But to be clear, right now Newcastle haven't offered £90 million. 90 million is about, euros wise, is about £74 million. Now, it's not that. That's not what they've offered that, but they've offered 69 million. Now, I think this is really important to consider this as well. It's £69 million for an unproven striker. I agree. And you put it on the face of that is a lot of money, but we don't have time. We don't have time to pivot away from this deal. And if we do pivot away from this deal, by comparison, this is just my opinion, any striker now, by comparison for this deal, other than if we were to get a cheaper striker and take a punt on him, again, that would be a punt. If we move away from this deal, the strikers that we would get, by comparison, would be phenomenally expensive and a worse deal than this. This is what I believe, is that it would be a worse deal. So the Jackson deal, they would charge us £80 million for him. But that is a deal that would be absolutely catastrophic. It would be worse than this deal by a mile. Watkins, fine, you could do that deal. That's 60 million and probably 250 to 300k a week. That deal is expensive, just as expensive, and you're not going to get that money back. Now, worst case scenario with the Sesko deal, worst case scenario is he doesn't do particularly well like Højlund, but Højlund is still worth 40 million and we paid 62 for him. So I just think that if we're looking at, and we also need a centre midfielder, and we also need a keeper. So I truly believe that we all need to keep calm. And I know some of us don't want Sesko, some of us kind of do, some of us are on the fence. But I'm looking at this now from a pragmatic perspective, on the basis that we could get a potential star in the making, who's 22 years old, a young guy. Pair him up with Højlund, but Højlund may go. But let's just say that he doesn't. We pay 70 million for Sesko. We've got Højlund, Sesko. We can spread that money over 4 or 5 years. So financially, from that perspective, it makes sense. Of all the strikers out there, I think I'd much prefer Sesko right now. I like his height. I do think he's ready to kick on to the next stage. So I think we can't just look at and focus on the player. We have to focus on the circumstance around it. What else do we need to do? We need a centre midfielder. We need a keeper. So in terms of now what we need to do, if this was earlier on in the window, maybe I'd go, well, actually, maybe it does come a point where it's very, very expensive. But what I am right now, and the things that we need to do, we need to get this deal done. I'd be confident that Sesko will do well. If not, then we can analyse and look at that. But we cannot afford to not get a centre midfielder and a keeper. That is where. So we need this done. And let's go and then focus on a keeper. And then we can argue amongst ourselves about Sesko and what we think he'll do. But I would love a situation where we get Sesko in, Arsenal the first game, and Sesko scores goal. That would, for me, would be fantastic. So I think that's where I am on it as well. Where else are we? Watkins, I think, is a non-starter. I think I think people are kicking that up again because they they just want to put something out there. Maybe we're kicking that off to maybe force Šeško into agreeing a deal with us. I think that's an interesting one there to think about that. But loads of things that you're going to say or hear is trying to get this deal done now. So Newcastle are throwing money at this. If you're a Newcastle fan, I'm afraid to say that the only way you get this deal done right now, in my opinion, is that if you put crazy money. If you're talking 85 to 90 million pounds, and you're going to have to give him 350 to 400k a week, that's how you get that done. And if that is the deal, then I'm out. I'm out of that deal at that point. I mean, yes, you could argue that you could spread that over X amount of time, but those numbers then become high. But right now, it really isn't that. It's 69 million pounds, which is about the going rate, really, for a striker of that potential, of that age. I think that's probably about right. I'm comfortable with that. Then when you start looking and analysing the player itself for that sort of money, then you'd have an argument if it's not the player that you sort of want. But in terms of a financial deal, and we'll look at that as well, is I think that I'm comfortable with doing that deal. So I think Šeško has made his choice. I think he's already picked us. As we've said, Newcastle could have done this deal 2 weeks ago. If Šeško wanted to go to Newcastle, he would already be there, and that's a fact. Moving on slightly, so Anthony is waiting on a Betis loan, so that's where he's at on that one. He's obviously kicking his toes at the pram because he wants to go back there. He thinks he can hold off on a loan. I'm hoping that he doesn't get his wish. I'm tired of these plays. You know, as we saw in the last game, these plays revert back to type. You're never not going to see these plays not reverting back to type, as we saw in the last game. It was just abysmal, you know. And what was quite clear for me was that we do need a centre midfielder as much as a striker. I thought the front three, they looked fun, but that experiment of not playing a striker up there doesn't work. It absolutely does not work. It's no coincidence that the top four, top five all have a striker. In fact, they've got two strikers. And then our centre midfield was absolutely awful. So I think the important things right now are striker, midfielder. I'd even argue we need to get two in there. We definitely need a world-class midfielder. Mainly can't do it on his own. Ugarte was terrible, absolutely awful. And then we need a goalkeeper. I'd probably even argue that we need another wing-back as well. And this is where we are. So let's not forget, and let's not be spun around on this. And I think I wanted to say this as well, is that there is still lots of spin out there, right? It's still so much spin. And there are things that we need to do. We've got one game left as a pre-season game, and then we've got Arsenal. So we cannot be spun around here, and everything's on the Šeško deal. We're like having our heads turned into one position, and that can't happen because we need a centre midfielder, we need a striker, and we need a goalkeeper. So really, where we are at is, I think, where we pretty much have been for the last couple of days, really. Šeško doesn't want to go to Newcastle, I think, and I'm just checking again to see what's out there. Anything, if anything's moved, because I think this is come to a point where anything could happen at any point in time. J Red says Hayden Hackney from Borough would be a good midfield. I just saw that, J Red. Literally just saw that as well. Hayden Hackney would be good. 15 to 20 million as well. Very good deal. And Belieber from Brighton next summer. I can't argue with that, my friend. Yeah. And again, is it a coincidence that Hayden Hackney hadn't hasn't gone there, and the reason why he turned that deal down. So, I think anything is possible right now. I think the Hackney deal, I think I'd love to get that done. I think that's a great price. I think you're right. And then, and then next season, then we go. But Belieber's going to be a very expensive deal to do. I reckon we're talking north of 100 million there. And for that sort of money, he needs to be proven. I think that, we're talking about the Šeško deal, but that's going to be north of like 100 million. So I don't disagree on that, but I think that would be a really, really expensive deal to do. But big clubs, that is what they go and do. Chief said, JB, any thoughts about Mbeumo's physique? Do you think he needs to improve his fitness? I'm worried after his American trip. Look at how I know there's a fake edit on here, but I still think he could do better. One of the things actually that I did see. I think he's a big lad anyway, so I think you can't read too much into it. I think that's how he's built. If you look at him, I think he's quite broad anyway. I do think he needs a couple of more weeks to train, but I think he's quite a broad guy. I think if you look at people's shapes, right? I mean, for example, Giggsy, right? He was always very, very slim, really, really slim guy, like a little rake, but was still quite strong on the ball. If you look at Traore, he's a massive, like he's quite a big. He's quite short, but he's quite a big guy. But I think he's just stocky. I think that's how he's built. You look at Rooney. Rooney was never the slimmest of guys, but he was strong. He was still fit. So I just think it's the way he's built. He does need fitness because I think he's unfit. But I just think in terms of him as a person, I just think that's how he's built. I think he's quite a big, strong lad. So I don't think we need to be concerned. I think he's fit. He's just. I just think he's just a big lad. Some people are, right. So I think that's pretty much where we are on that. I think if anything does break, I'll be back on here. But if you've got any suggestions about anything you want to bring into the show, please let me know, and we can talk about that. Anything over the last couple of weeks that we've spoken about, any midfielders. I think a midfielder conversation would be good next, actually, because I think that's where we need to go. So I think that would be good to talk about, and where we think we are going to finish in the season. Based on now, we've got two players, so I think that would be a great conversation to have. But as it was, it's nice to be back. Still not feeling 100%. I can feel my brain a bit scrambled, but I'm back as it was, which is it's nice to be back. So thank you for those who've watched. If you've not been here before, then even if you just come here for the chat is amazing. It is the absolute amazing chat, and I'll always say this: is that one thing you can't buy is time, and you've given me time today. Whether it's a second or a minute or an hour, giving me your time means more to me than you will ever know. It's amazing. I'm so thankful for this community. We're now on the journey to 7,000 subscribers. We've just gone through 6,000, which is amazing, and it's mad. Mark Stewart says, if you take Cunha in Mbeumo out of the team, it's the same team as 15th Arsenal on a week on Sunday. Scary. Mark Stewart, exactly. And that's exactly what I say on here. The community says on here as well. If you take those two signings out, bearing in mind, we didn't have either of them for the first game. We had one of them. We've had both of those signings play in one game, and one of them was out of position. So if you take those two out, we've got the same squad, and in the last game it showed we played the exact same stuff, the exact same people, the exact same position, and we were dreadful. And that's a mark. And I'm going to give you the last, the last say there, because I think you're spot on. 100% right. If we put out that team, which we probably will do, because we've not got, and this is what I will say, we need to be careful of spin. And we've already put the spin out that this is a new team, a fresh start, and all this crap. Neil says Šeško not worth 90 million euros. At the moment, it's not. It's 80 plus 10, which is 69 in terms of pounds. 69 million pounds. Which I'm not averse to that, but again, I can respect that view. We still have the same team, so we've been spun around again. We've been spun around, and we've been told this is a fresh start, these new players, and if you listen to it, this is a new start, these players are different. It's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. It's the same team, and we'll do the same things week after week. And as Mark says, if we don't sort this out, we're playing Arsenal in less than 2 weeks, and we all know what the result will be because you've already seen it already. We've seen it twice. The first game of pre-season and then the latest game of... And that is where we are. That is what's going to happen because we know we've seen it before. And if we do not fix this now, we will know what was going to happen. So let's see what happens in the day. If anything breaks, I will jump back on again, depending on how I feel. Hopefully, I'll jump on and do a show this evening. If not, I will see you very, very soon. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to Neil, to Chief, to Mark, to J Red, Tulip Plays, Hamsey. I've said Tulip, Premier League 200, Mark B, Wheatfoot, Arman, Chief Herb, Tensu. So many now in this chat. Toxic as well is absolutely fantastic. Thank you for being here, guys. It really means a lot. Obviously, don't forget to like, favourite and subscribe because this channel is getting bigger. We are getting bigger. We are going to be a big channel. I know we are. This community is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I want us to get as big as we can because this community is fantastic. We speak sense. Most of the things we say either come true or in part do because we talk from a logical perspective. We don't always agree, but I think that is the best way to be, is that we all come here, we get our opinions out. I'll try not to stifle your opinions. We may agree, we may not disagree, we may not agree, and that's life. But everything is always done with respect, which is the most important thing. So on that, thank you, Chief. 6K is fantastic. We're going to get bigger, guys. We are going to get bigger. We're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I'll do some cool things on here. And it's all thanks to you guys. Neil says, hope you're feeling... thanks, mate. Fingers crossed by at least tomorrow I should be back to normal. 10K before. I hope so, mate. I really, really do. That will be... amazing. And then the bigger it gets, the more that I can commit to this and do a couple of shows a day, maybe do some more cool things, and we'll get and that is all thanks to you guys. You guys would be here at the very beginning of the journey, and that would be amazing. That it's all you guys in the chat make this happen, okay? And you would have been here from the very, very start and watched something amazing happen, and that's something I will never be. I couldn't find the words to thank you with that. So, that is, we are building something special, and then the bigger we get, the more special things that we can do on here, and we've done it together. Fingers crossed, buddy. If it does break, then I will jump back on wherever I am. Often you just see me in a bedroom or a car or whatever else, and I will commit that and I'll jump on. So thank you for watching, guys. Have a great day, morning, evening, whatever you're up to, and I will see you on the next one, my friends.